Good morning, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of Tips from TTO. We have today, as always, our resident accounting payroll specialist, Megan Wallander. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Glad
It
to
is
hear
morning, and
is
I'm
morning.
good, so it's always good to have a good morning.
Good morning. Agreed.
And
yes.
to say good morning. So there we go.
Yes.
Let's talk some biz.
Absolutely.
Right? A lot going on in the biz world. We've always discussed budgets, and we're going to talk a little bit about budgets today because, budgets are a difficult thing, and I just wonder sometimes, if people really are taking them very seriously. And, how we move through this and move into this part of the discussion. What do we do? How do we do it?
Right. What's the starting point? Like you said, we do talk a lot about budgeting, and sometimes we, exhaust ourselves, but we truly believe that it is the foundation of a business, whether you are a micro business, a small business, medium size, whether you are Walmart, a big corporation, you have to have that foundation set in place to truly be successful from a financial standpoint.
Financial standpoint is the big thing. Everybody is scrambling a little bit. I think you have restaurants, you have the salons, you have, and it's funny, everybody looks at, and we're getting advice. We take advice a lot of times, I think, from the TV, from Fox Business, from NBC Business or CNN or wherever,
all those
whatever
gurus.
the case, you're listening to your local business channel, you hear the guy on the weekend from the local station talking business. You might even, and there are people, that have business consultants.
Yes, that is, yes. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good idea. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
It's a smart practice,
yeah,
definitely.
It is a good practice. Do you have somebody that you can trust? Maybe your accountant, getting business advice. What is the best way to go about these things? Because you have corporate business at the top here, and many times what we hear is that language, but there's very little underneath, I think, and how people deal with those things. We always talk about, small business. There is this category of small business that has everybody crammed. I mean, 92% of the United States business is all crammed and shoved into small business.
The one little title, right?
Right, and you hear this. You have all this language, and everybody's trying to figure it out.
Right, and most of the time it goes over their head. It goes over my head sometimes. This is what I do for a living.
Well, and it's not even so much going over. I understand what you're saying, but it's not even so much going over that. It's what really pertains to me.
That's what I was going to say. Pertains to me. What is going to affect me, and how do I put that into practice? Because half of it probably doesn't even pertain to you, but you don't want to miss something as a small business owner either.
Right.
So yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when you're looking at these things, what part of that small business? This is why we talk a lot about micro business, because micro business, a lot of sometimes. That's good English.
That's some great English. Thankfully, we are not English professors.
Many times, we'll start
there we go.
The difficulty is distinguishing between all these different categories and what pertains to me, what pertains to my business. How do I categorize? And this is where budgets will help you kind of define,
prioritize. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes. I would say the definition that define would probably be a better way, because hopefully as a business owner, you have your priorities in place. But it helps you define where you're at from a financial standpoint. Yes, it does.
Because right now we're at the tail end of quarter two, right?
We are at the tail end of quarter two. So don't forget, here's your every
Your
2
reminder.
weeks tip from TTO that we are on the tail end of quarter two. So, and that's why we're kind of segueing into the budget standpoint is you're going to have those end of the quarter tax payments coming up that will be due at the in the middle of July and the end of July. We've got all those updates on our website, so be sure to check those out.
Right.
But that's going to be coming up. So is that money in the bank? Small tip, we really suggest and highly promote that you have a secondary account. I don't know if we've ever talked about that on our show, but that you have a separate account for those payroll expenses, because in the shuffle of maintaining the financial standpoint for from your checking accounts checking account, it can get that money can get thrown in there, and you don't have the money at the end of the. I didn't say that very well. I'm talking in circles. Forgive me.
So basically,
Yes.
you want that.
You want to separate that out so that you know that those funds are there, because you are ultimately responsible for sending that money in for your employee and for your portion of that. So separating those out. That's just a tip, though. You don't have to, but we do suggest that you keep those two separate from an accounting standpoint. And that money's ready to go for you to send it in with all your quarterly reports and whatnot. Again, we've got that on our website if you need those dates and reports information.
It's always good practice to leave money for the government alone.
Absolutely, don't touch it. It's not, technically, I always tell my clients that money is not yours. It may be sitting in that account, but it's not technically yours. You're withholding it from your employee, setting that aside so that they're paying in their taxes and you're paying in. So technically, it's not even yours anyway. So
that's right.
It's really not. Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to look at it. Whenever it comes to payroll, any of that money that you're dealing with payroll, whether it be what you're withholding tax-wise or whatnot, or giving, it's not your money. It belongs to either the employee or the state or federal
agencies. Yes,
agencies,
it does.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's always a good practice to take that money out of your account and into a separate account that says, this is what this is for.
Don't touch it.
We don't touch that. That goes over there. So there's never a question.
Right. And at the end of the end of the quarter, that money's there. That stress level, that piece of that puzzle is not a stress for you. You've got enough to worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
don't we all? Yeah, exactly.
You do.
We do.
You have control what you can control. You can control that.
We have enough to deal with on a day-to-day basis with just managing our business.
Right.
There's no reason to come to the end of that quarter and go, where's that money?
I don't have $5,000 sitting in the bank to pay that. So yeah, that's just a small tip from us. We highly recommend that, and that's something that we try to set up for clients and whatnot, just to help you out. We want to relieve that stress. And so in going back to the budget piece, that's where your budget comes into play, making sure that those practices are set in place, and it's never too late. I know we're talking about going into the last month of the second quarter, so we're technically halfway through the year. Do you have your budget in place? Is that something? And it's never too late to start one.
And that's okay. So when we talk about budgets, let's get into a little detail here, because I don't think we've done this before. But if you're out there and you're like, well, I've got a budget, but there's sometimes this, we just we follow it to a degree. It would be good to sit down with whoever you deal with, your accounting or tax person, find a business consultant.
Right.
Ask these questions. Where does your money go? Who's it going to? How many categories?
Right. Expense accounts do you have?
How many accounts do you have? Are you paying utilities? Are you paying advertising? Are you paying?
Or do you have a rent expense? I mean,
rent.
Those are big pieces of the puzzle. So
insurance.
Yeah, insurance. Yes.
We're putting all these things in place, finding out, because at the end of the day, say all your expenses line up to say 35% of your income.
It's a good number.
Okay. Yep. You need to know that After 35%, your gross revenue at 100% here.
Yes.
You take that 35% of that dollar figure has to be is gone already.
Mm-hmm. Yes, at the beginning of the month or whenever those times. You have to deduct it at the beginning of the month to know where you're at. So that starting point is very important. Having the list to prioritize. Are you spending too much money in one area where if a budget's in place, looking at that on a regular basis, double checking, saying, hey, this is what I have left for the year. We need to prioritize. You can go in and realign budgets. It's not a set in stone type document. How you can update them, move money around. People do it all the time, or business owners do it all the time. But how do you know if something's not there in front of you to look at every day?
And think about this. And here's the thing: the lower the volume of your revenue, the higher your percentage is going to be.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of times these expenses, like utilities, rent, if you have advertising that you want to spend each month, they may be the same dollar figure and your revenue may be fluctuating a little bit until you get where you want to be. So your percentages may fluctuate a little bit. Make sure you understand the dollar figure that you want to spend.
Right. It is definitely about percentage, putting that dollar amount in there based off of what's coming in what's coming in. You might have a slight decrease. So again, like Brian just said, that percentage is going to go up. So we truly believe that a budget is the foundation, and it does relieve that stress, knowing where your money's going. Are you spending it in the right places? Are you investing in your people? Are you investing in what's going to build your business, like marketing and advertising? And without something in black and white or even on a computer screen, it's hard to know those. It's hard to know where that is.
Right.
Yes.
And that's the thing. And like she said, it's never too late.
No,
so,
it's not.
Especially with what's going on right now, everything is so volatile. Goods are going up. Where is your revenue coming from? How are people spending their money? What there's going to be a lot of difficulties. For instance, let's just look at inflation.
Yes.
If we're talking about budget, we're talking about expenses. Right now, the Fed is putting inflation at 4.2%.
Good chunk of change.
4.2% inflation, but they calculate it differently. Let's put it into perspective. Inflation today, calculated the way it was done in the 80s, early to mid 80s when Ronald Reagan was president, inflation right now would be at 15%.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay.
So they are calculating it different, and we're at 4.2%. So think about that thought process, 15%, and it may be just for the simple fact of I'm not quite sure. I didn't get a chance to finish looking at
really
some of those things.
To really dive into that, yes.
But that's where we're at. So,
wow.
But even 4.2% inflation, look at lumber, look at building costs, look at fuel. Right. I mean, right now we're paying, I remember November of last year, we were paying what, $1.60?
Yeah.
I paid $1.63 for gas. Now I just drove by the Quick Trip.
I just filled up for $2.65 yesterday.
Exactly. See, there's $1, and it's upwards of even at $2.85 in some places.
It's jumping up there.
So if you're in your business and your budget, now you got to rethink what you're doing. In this,
absolutely,
it's $1 per gallon more.
Right, and if you didn't calculate that within that budget, that's going to make a significant impact on that net profit at the end of the year. So that's why it's important to, looking at it daily, I don't absolutely look at it daily, but definitely putting into a practice of looking at it weekly. What did I spend this week? What did I what's that look like next week? If for example, if you own a lawn care company, gas is an essential part of your business, and with the inflation and the rising prices of that is something to really consider managing from a budget standpoint, because you're going to pay a little bit more.
and I understand this is where you see on the mainstream news, the stuff with the pipeline, how that happened.
Right.
What are they doing with the stuff that's happening with the the environment, the environmental impact, all the stuff happening with fossil fuels. Big,
Right.
huge
It's big.
thought
Yeah.
process. What does that look like? Are you thinking about the future? What does that look like for your business?
Right.
And I think this is where budgeting starts into that factor. If I'm looking at how much money I'm making this way, gas is changing, what's going to happen equipment wise? Are they going to start making electric mowers?
Right, exactly. Right.
You know,
exactly.
so what is that going to cost me? How does that look? And thinking about these things long term, thinking about your business long term, putting budgets in place in those respects to
Right.
make sure your capital stays in place
Right.
to be able to effectively meet those challenges.
Right. And, you know, I've, you know, through over the years, bigger companies will factor in inflation, because inflation happens whether we're in a situation that we're in now. It might be in different areas of business, but inflation always, you know, it's a tricky business, you know, lack of better words. So you have to factor in inflation because it is unpredictable. Business is unpredictable to a certain extent. So factoring that in, if you don't have a budget, it's not too late to start one. It is never too late.
Exactly. And we're going to get to a couple of points here. And I want to say this. If you started one at the beginning of the year and you're just like, man, I got too busy and everything kind of got overwhelming with all the stuff.
Right.
Get back to it.
Refocus.
Yeah. You know, restart, reset, take a few of these points. Megan's got a few of them here. We start with, you know, gross revenue, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, every budget starts with a projection. If you're starting in the middle, you want to find out where you're at year to date. Look back at your receipts, look at back, whatever type of system you have going on, find what you've done year to date.
We hope you're meeting those projections.
Hopefully, yes. We want you to be successful. So, if you're meeting your projections, so you have a budget in place, it's basically, you know, a projection versus if you're starting in the middle of the year, you're gonna pull those gross sales. You want to start where you're at year to date. You want to take that. And then, not real simple. I mean, it can get a little tedious, but don't overthink it. We talk about don't overthink a budget. It will overwhelm you, which can cause you to just say, I don't want to mess with this. So don't do that. You know, sit down, create a list of your expenses, what it's going to cost or what expenses you have to operate your business. And it could be anywhere, how much, you know, paper towels and, you know, forks you're going to need for your business. That is an expense. Those are supplies. You know, sit down, make that list.
Printer paper,
yes. You know, that actually gets...
Well, but you know what? We're not going to do much printing anymore.
Well, no, but you know, we here
paper,
at
right?
the tax office, we print a lot of stuff. We factor in what it costs to have, you know, printer. It can get that tedious. Like I said, but don't overthink it. Make a list of your expenses. That's a big one. A printer goes down, or a refrigerator goes down, or God forbid one of your lawnmowers goes down. You know, you have to consider those types of things when, you know, I'm talking about a budget. But those expenses, don't forget payroll. Payroll is one of your biggest expenses. If you've got people on, that'll be a kind of like a separate column. So I'm not going to get into that too much detail, but you'll want to sit down, list those things out. Everything that it's going to take to operate your business. Hopefully you're keeping your receipts. That's a big thing. Keep those receipts. Don't throw those away. Calculate what you have. You might, you know.
I have a question.
I have an answer, hopefully.
Can I bring them to you in a shoebox?
Absolutely. That's kind of an inside joke. You know, we see, and we don't judge. There's no judgment here, but we see trash bags, shoe boxes. That's what we're here for. We're here to organize you and get you back on track. So, you know, and you might
been there, done that.
You know what? There's a lot of people, and so calculate what you can. Sit there, add up what you've spent for, you know, auto expense, rent expense, utility expense, and then that's what you've spent, you know, thus far. You're going to want to subtract that out of what you've already brought in. That's going to give you kind of what that net profit is. And, you know, tip, that's what you're going to pay taxes on if you're, you know, after deductions and whatnot. So, you know, something to think about. But, and then, I mean, simply, you know, another tip, you can simply write it down on a notebook paper. We see that a lot. If you want to use an Excel sheet, it's real easy. You don't have to get too detailed with it, but it'll give you a good starting point, starting the last half of the year of where you're at. And what you have left to spend, what you think you're going to need to spend. If you need a piece of equipment, if you're showing a huge net profit, hey, buy that piece of equipment, buy that new printer that you've been looking at, get those deductions at the end of the year. So like I said, don't overthink it. It can be real simple just to get you refocused for the last half of the year.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. It's just that simple.
It really is. If you don't overthink it,
it is.
It can be tough.
It's very difficult once you've let it go for so long to get back.
Yeah, it can overwhelm you.
It can be overwhelming.
Yeah,
but
it can.
if you're paying attention, if you have that person, if you take that day once a week to really look at your stuff, I mean, understanding what you're spending, understanding your budget, understanding how you want to be successful.
Absolutely.
How do you make sure you're paying your employees? Right. It's funny because I hear this a lot. There are a lot of people that borrow money to make payroll. There's a lot of companies
you want to get into.
There's a lot of companies that borrow money to make payroll.
Unfortunately, God love them.
And then when the sales come in, they pay it back. It's kind of like it's a line of credit they have at the bank so they can meet their payroll. Okay, well, sometimes it's a necessary thing.
It happens. It does.
Sometimes it's just a necessary thing. But if you can create a revenue thought process with a budget that sets those things in motion, that your money is consistently there, and maybe you do here and there, you have the line of credit if it meets over. Sometimes things happen. You have an expense that you didn't foresee.
That you didn't see, and that's going to happen.
There's all kinds of things that are
in the world.
Yeah, there are always things that happen. So it's a matter of having things in place, though. But you have your best practice.
Absolutely.
In place. But then you have those situations, those things. But if you're consistently doing those things, your bank looks at that. There's better opportunities. Talking to your bankers, talking to your tax professional, your accounting professional. There are ways to make your business run smoother, easier, make it more profitable.
Yes.
All those things.
Money in the bank.
And that's what we like to talk about.
Which is the goal.
Because I'll tell you, folks, I understand, you're always looking, there's the expert or the person that's, we have on the TV shows. And that's great. I listen to all kinds of people talk and whatnot. Megan and I decided to do this because we believe we're a couple of Joe Schmoes. And I know that sounds strange. You say, why am I taking advice from Joe Schmo? You're not taking advice. Go take your advice from, we're talking about business as a practice, as things that we're experiencing.
Every day, just like you.
Just like
Absolutely.
you. And looking at things and how we look at this. I'm going to go and talk to my professionals. They help us, the tax office. We've been working with them, and it makes a huge difference. We talk to our banker. That's who we talk to. But we have to understand that these are practices and things that we have to put in place in order for these things to,
absolutely,
for our businesses to be successful. So we just like to come and talk on a daily basis. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you have things that that you would like to have discussed. If you're a business owner and you'd love to come on the show and talk with Megan and I, we'd love to do it. That's what this is about. This is about micro business owners, folks in the trenches, in that, crammed into that
hustling just like us.
Yeah, that's what this is about. And we know we're not corporate.
We're not
companies, Fortune 500.
We're not.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day, that'd be great.
I don't know.
I mean, that'd be awesome.
You never know.
Definitely.
You never know. If you want to give Megan a call at the tax office, you can do that at 636-926-7511. You can also, as she said, they've got their resource center on their website at thetaxoffice.com. There's great information there, always links and whatnot to the IRS.
Yeah, we got all them. Yeah,
state,
we do.
All your documents, things that you need to get everything in place. So go check out thetaxoffice.com. Megan, thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
Folks, everybody have a great day in the Lord, and we'll see you next time.